Welcome to a new episode of Master Your Mistakes. Today we have Danie Groves. Danie is a barrister, actress, and now singer, releasing her new song, Embers. She's going to talk to us today about balancing these three very different careers and also the inspiration and journey behind her song, Embers. Danie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. Now, first, a bit on your background. These three different careers. How did you first get into them and how do you balance them?
So the first career that I started off with, and I started off very young when I was about 4, was acting. And I did that in Thailand. So I'm half Thai. My family are all based in Thailand. And I grew up in a very, very musical household. My mum was a singer and actress. And so it kind of was pushed into me very, very young. I started out sort of doing commercials and things after school. And then I started getting my sort of bigger breaks in TV series and films. So that was kind of where it started creatively. But then because I've been doing that for a really, really long time, it got to a point where I was thinking, university, what am I going to do? Do I kind of stick to the safe option of what I've been doing my whole life, which is acting or something sort of film oriented? Or do I take a shot doing something completely different? And I always loved reading, writing, academically, like it was just something that I always kind of veered towards, was something more written based. And so I thought, law sounds impressive. Why not study it for a bit? And so honestly, how I kind of diverted careers wise was just, I need to pick something for university. And so I chose law, thought I'd do it for 3 years, but I ended up here in London and I got stuck with law. I was like, I actually love this and I can see this being a career. And so I trained and qualified as a barrister. So that took me there. And
A quick question.
yeah,
For the people around you at this time, either your family or your friends, was it a surprise to them that you went from acting to law?
no. So people who are close to me knew that I was at this point, so we're talking sort of 17. I think they all knew I was desperate to kind of have something else to do. Not because I didn't love acting, I really, really did. But I was just craving something more of a challenge at that point. When you've been working on something and with your craft for quite a while, you're just looking for something new. So they knew I was going to do something completely different to acting. But I think what they were all surprised is that I'm still here doing it now. Yeah, my mum, I get calls from my mum all the time being like, so are you really not coming home? Because yeah, it was kind of that assumption that I'd go for maybe 3, 4 years, train as a lawyer, and then just go back to acting, to be honest. But here I am still.
And now a new direction or a new quiver to your bow, singing. Where does that
Yeah.
come from in the whole journey?
So as I've kind of said, my mum was a singer. That was kind of her forte. And so growing up, I always loved music and just I learnt so much from her in that side. But it was always more of a hobby as opposed to, say, the acting. And then it got to a point where now I've been doing law for the last 7 years. And I went deep into, I do crime, I practice in crime, that area of law. And it got to a point where I was starting to feel not myself. And I think that comes from the fact that I've had such a long career in the past that used so much creativity that I felt I was no longer kind of being able to put into the law work. And so it's kind of been the last few months, really, that I thought, what's something that's going to suddenly bring me a little bit more joy and that creative outlet. That's not full on acting because acting as a career takes a lot of time. You've got to be, doing castings. You've got a production that might take a few months. You're on set, and so you can't. That's quite a difficult career to balance alongside, let's say, being a barrister like I am. Whereas singing, you can release some music, you can kind of work on things in the background whilst you're still a lawyer. And so that's kind of the direction I took as to this crisis I'm feeling where I'm not as creative as I used to be. And I thought, music, let's release some music.
And to give us a sense of timelines from this kind of initial, discomfort within you that you wanted an outlet for, to deciding, right, that's it. I'm gonna create this song.
The song was actually created years ago, so that's a secret. This song specifically that I've released, Embers, I wrote, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago. And I've got some other projects in the pipeline that were also all written mostly years and years ago. And what happened was I'd got home from work one evening and I was feeling sort of, I want to say pensive and a bit dramatic, to be honest. And I thought of going through sort of old photo albums and old projects I'd done in the past. And I looked at my old Google Drive. I don't know if anyone's ever done that. But you kind of open Pandora's box and realize, oh my God, I've done this, I've done that. And I found a whole folder of song lyrics that I'd written over kind of the past decade. And Embers was one of them. And I was going through it, and I'd also done so much of the hard work back then. I'd, written kind of the chord progressions, the melody and everything. And so I kind of stumbled upon a bit of a gold mine that I'd created myself and was like, this is actually kind of brilliant, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, definitely. This is not a place for humility.
But, I just thought, God, I would have loved if this was an actual song when I was going through the stuff that kind of led me to writing it at the time. I thought, I would have loved if this was a real song that had been released to listen to myself. And so now, in a period where I'm kind of, I want to do something creative, why not just release it? The work has been done, mostly. So, yeah.
And of these different songs that you found within your Google Drive, what made you land on Embers as the one to focus on?
I think it was the strongest conceptually. When I started writing it, I know that I actually started with the title, Embers. It's actually how a lot of my songs kind of start, is I start title first. I want the visuals for it to come to my head and then I flesh it out. But Embers is all about kind of the opposite of a spark. I feel like in a lot of songs we're talking about sparks, whether it's romantic or something exciting or new in life. And I kind of wanted to talk about the opposite of that, which is when something's already died down, what's kind of left. And in this sense, it was talking about kind of a romantic relationship. But I wanted to start with that one because I feel like it's at this point in my life where I'm looking back quite a lot. And I'm thinking, what remains of everything that I've done, to be honest. And it's so much good and so much gratitude. Really, it's a song about gratitude.
Interesting.
So it's a song about gratitude.
Because I would have immediately got that. So there's a nice kind of undertone.
Yeah, that is actually the message I want everyone to kind of take away from it. Is it's not a sad song. It's reminiscing, but it's really just kind of leaving the past behind with a lot of integrity and a lot of self-awareness. So that's why I wanted it to be the lead single. I wanted it to be the debut one.
And however much you're comfortable sharing, was it based upon a specific relationship or is it more parts of a few brought into one?
It is based on a specific relationship, but it's also very much inspired by, I think, I wanted to write something that would be relatable to a lot of people. So it's not like it's, straight word for word anything that's actually happened, but it was very much more the emotion and again, what I've said, the concept of just being grateful for something that's happened. So it was kind of inspired by myself, but also just by what I think other people kind of would want to hear from a song about this. So, yeah.
And if you could choose maybe one or two of your own lyrics and speak about them, what would you want people to know?
Okay. Now I've got to think. Do you know what? This is the worst thing about being a singer is forgetting your own lyrics. I'm terrible at remembering my own lyrics. Hang on.
If you have to sing the full song in order to get there, then that's...
Okay, so one line that I think is really important and I was very happy to include in the song was to not take things for granted because it will haunt me in my sleep. And that is really important because of the word haunting in my sleep for me is something that happens a lot about honestly everything I do. I've been told I'm way too hard on myself about a lot of things, and it's not necessarily just in a romantic context, but I think it's a message I carry with me throughout pretty much everything I do is I always try to get things right the first time round, because otherwise it plays on my conscience. It's something that I don't think anyone else can take responsibility for your actions other than yourself. And I think it was important in a song about kind of self-reflection, all of that was kind of in there. So yeah, like I'm happy with that line.
Then that sort of thought process and applying that to you creating Embers and deciding what was the moment that you decided this song is finished, I'm ready to, release it into the wild?
I mean, when I started recording it and mixing it, and starting to kind of share it with my close inner circle, and all that, you obviously get a lot of different opinions, tweak this volume up and, do this, do that. But I think after going through all of that and listening it to I listened to it maybe 100 times before deciding on the final version. It just got to a point where I was in my bathtub, actually, and I played it on the loudspeaker, and then I started crying. And I was like, okay, now I think I've hit the note I wanted to reach on it. It wasn't sad crying. It was more just like, yes, the vocals hit, the violins, which are a key part of the song. I was like, that did exactly what it needed to, and I'm done. I'm just gonna relax in this bath now.
And on that kind of creative / emotional aspect, what sort of advice might you give to someone like yourself, but maybe a few years ago, who is maybe on the cusp of something like this?
Trust your instinct. And that's actually advice that I wish I could give at every single year of my life. Trust your instincts, because I've realized they've always proven to be right. And sometimes, unfortunately, they're proven to be right when you haven't gone with that instinct and you wish you had. I just think if you are someone that's creative, or even not creative in any aspect of your life, you know the most about what you're good at and where you want to go and what makes you happy. So as much as it benefits to listen to advice from other people, like, your gut kind of always knows where you want to go and how you want to do things.
Mm-hmm. And thinking now on the strictly musical part of it, where do you draw inspiration from in terms of genres or specific people or even a specific song?
I mean, genres, I love every genre of music, but R&B is what I will dance to, what I will cry to, and what I will sing. So that's why I've tried to create quite a classic R&B project with all of my songs at the minute. So, all the classic R&B influences, Aaliyah, we've got Neo, because I want to be able to create dance songs as well that are as groovy as a Neo track. Lyrically, I'd say there's SZA. SZA is a great lyricist. But I'm also drawn from a lot of jazz influences. So my mum, as a singer, she sings a lot of jazz. So I love instrumentation, a lot of real instruments in a R&B song that you might expect just beats and things like that. I basically just like to create something that's classic, approachable, but then there's a little bit of experimentation that you think, oh God, she added that to it. That's what I want to do with my music. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. And in terms of the audience of people receiving it, who do you think it would resonate most with? And I'm also thinking a kind of added question there would be Thai culture versus your British culture.
That's a really good question. Who would it resonate with? I want it to resonate with everyone. I actually think beyond, obviously, I'm a singer, I'm producing this and everything. It started off with my lyrics. So I actually want, if anybody kind of takes anything away from my projects as a whole, it's that the lyrics came first. And I think my lyrics they're not meant for everybody, but anyone at some point could feel them. And so I don't think there's a barrier there as to where my music is meant to go, because I'm not going to limit myself to also just being, I'm always going to stay in the R&B lane or anything like that. I love so much of every type of genre. So the lyrics come first. And in terms of the Thai culture, I'd say actually where that's influenced my music is just the amount of people I've met, the amount of experiences I've had lends so much to how much I have to write about. I've moved around so much of my life. I've been in Thailand, I've been in the UK, lived in Hong Kong as well, Netherlands. So I think just my international background in general means I have so much to write about. And yeah, I hope my music can just kind of touch everywhere.
Nice. I like that. And now touching on something adjacent to this, confidence. So releasing something like this, you're putting yourself out there in quite a dramatic way, also quite a vulnerable way. And, you're touching on, some like kind of softer stuff within you. Like, how does someone, or how do you go about the confidence to do that?
It's a struggle. um, I think just knowing why you're doing it. So I remind myself all the time that actually I'm doing this because I found some songs in a Google Drive. And I just thought myself back then would have liked to listen to this song. So maybe even one person out there might like this song that's not me. I think just when I always put my perspective back down to why I've started doing this, and the fact that I just genuinely love doing it, it's kind of enough that I'm kind of ready to receive whatever people want to say about the music. I just really hope they do like it, because it is a vulnerable thing, but I see it more as I'm trying to do something for other people as well. So it's not kind of, I want everyone to think this is great music. I just want this music to be out there for whoever needs it. Yeah.
I like that. And now changing tack a little bit to you being a barrister,
Yes.
especially in crime as well. This is like two just so different things. Yeah. How does your brain work? Do you like strongly compartmentalize? Do you create like two different personas? How does this happen?
Do you know what? This has just been this way my whole life, like the different personas. Like I went to school and I was this quite geeky, to be honest, quite geeky student. Like my friends would say, I'm a bit of a comedian. I'm just, this weird kid, to be honest, in school. And then, I'm on set and I'm filming something else and I'm doing interviews and I'm very sort of poised. And especially in Thailand, the culture there, I'd say, like there's a real lane as to how you're supposed to present yourself and things like that, which is maybe a bit different to like Western culture.
How would you describe that? What sort of attributes?
I just think it also comes from I was much younger back then, and every project I was doing then was acting based, so it was based on characters, it was based on whoever I was portraying in the film or series. And so if I was giving interviews, I want to say, the percentage of who you're getting in terms of when you're speaking to me is probably maybe 40% who I am and 60% whatever is required of that project. And I think that's just the nature of that game of acting, right? So it's very different to say what I'm doing now, which is music, and it's like, this is me. So I think, I've always been having to compartmentalize different personas, and they're all me. They're just me in a different environment. So when it comes to law, I think, people would be surprised, I suppose, if they were my client, seeing their barrister. I'm incredibly focused and on when I'm in court, and I suppose outside I'm something else, but that's everybody, I think, in a workplace and when they go home or when they're doing something else. I'm sure you're very different when you're, running as opposed to when you're setting up your business or something like that. I just don't want people to kind of see it as playing different roles. It's just you're put in a completely different environment.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I often think about like authenticity as not being 100% of yourself in every moment, but the 10% that you're showing is like a genuine 10%.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that, yeah. And also, as a barrister, it's very performative. There's actually a lot of elements. I mean, I know just how much my acting training actually helped in terms of the confidence to, for example, speak in front of a judge. Even conceptually, when you're thinking of writing a closing speech for a case or something like that, I'm thinking, how is this going to hit the audience? I'm thinking of my pace. Is my volume loud enough? There's so many things that I take away from everything. And I think actually what I've taken away from the law to, say, my music now and to life is the confidence. I think when you've been in front of a scary judge who's been yelling at you for something that you've not done, I think you can kind of handle anything. And you just come away with a knack of, you know what, I know how to get myself out of this. I know how to handle things much better. So, yeah, so I think every aspect just kind of lends a different hand to each other.
Nice. That's a super strong framework for all these different aspects. And you preempted a question actually when you said that these are the parts that I bring to law. I was going to ask you, what do you take from law and bring to the other aspects of your life? And I kind of wanted to touch on a little bit the crime aspect, because it's like quite dark stuff. Like how do you potentially process that? Do you become numb to it? Do you what's the how does it work?
I mean, I can say that everybody approaches it differently. Like, I know if I spoke to my colleagues and things, they all have different ways of coping. Some people are, or they say that they definitely are sort of numb to it, and some people thrive off of the emotional aspect of it. I think I'm kind of somewhere in between. I think if if I was numb to it, I actually wouldn't do it at all. I'm very people oriented. I think I chose to go into crime because I really wanted subjects and cases that mattered to me. I wanted to help people. But there definitely is, when you do so many cases, and I don't know if you know, but like criminal barristers, we could be doing, a different case every single day. I've had trials back to back. And so just the sheer number, and it's also because we've got a crippling justice system here.
Yeah,
we need more money. But because of that, barristers are incredibly overworked. And so when you've got such a extreme amount of cases, they do blur sometimes. They do blur in terms of the emotional aspect of it. But then I'll probably find every 2 weeks, I'll just go, whoa, that was a lot. And then I make myself a cup of tea, I have a bath, and I just think I've had some really good results, or this was a good decision, and then I keep going.
Makes sense. Yeah, these baths seem to be a running theme.
Yeah,
in your
yeah,
trajectory.
that's my outlet.
And within what you can say, do you have a case that you're particularly proud of? Either in terms of the impact that you made, or the way that you conducted yourself.
So many. I'm very, very proud of. I think probably when so there's one case, I mean, there's been many cases of the similar sort. I'm not going to go into sort of details of it, but I think I'm proudest when I think I'm dealing with quite big stakes. For example, somebody who's never been to prison, never been convicted of anything before, and this is kind of a first offence that they're dealing with, and let's say I'm defending. And then we get a good result, and it's very clear that there's actually been sort of an injustice in terms of how the case was put together, say by the police or something like that. And then, they get to walk home, and then they're very grateful. I think that's always something I'm very proud of, is just making sure that I'm there to stand up for somebody when something's gone wrong fundamentally in the case that shouldn't have been to court, something like that. I'm very proud of. I'm also proud when actually you get a lot of clients that kind of, I would say, should be more grateful than they are. But I think when you know how much hard work you've put into a case, you're always proud no matter what the result is.
That's really cool.
And also that's something about my the practice I did was I prosecuted and I defended. So when you do kind of both sides, I would say personally, and I think most of my colleagues would have agreed, is that you're never results oriented. It's all about, at the end of the day, everybody that's working in a court is trying to get the truth out of it, justice. But it's just, if you know that you've worked really hard on something, you're happy with whatever the result is.
I like that. I've heard a similar thing from lawyers talking about how, what motivates them is not necessarily the outcome of the case, but the justice aspect. They use that word quite strongly. Touching back to Embers for a moment, thinking about life lessons in the broadest way, is there anything that you would take from, let's say, the relationship or relationships that the song was based on to the present day?
Honesty and integrity. And yeah, it's in the song itself, but it's what the song is about. Is after that, no matter what mistakes I made or that I, was feeling at the time or anything like that, I knew that what I learned the most from that was it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not know exactly what you want, but at the point in which you do, be honest about it. And when you move with integrity, I don't think you're ever going to regret anything. So, yeah.
I like that. There's a nice mirror there between what you were saying in terms of law, less outcome orientated, more the way that you conduct, the way that you are, the way that you feel about your decisions.
Yeah. And you
So that's
definitely
really
don't get it right. I mean, I think that's the point of the song is I definitely did not actually get it right. But I hope, and I've been really conscious of getting it right in that aspect since then. So, yeah.
Strong. I like that. And now, what's next in terms of the Embers journey? Could you give the audience a flavor of what's on your plate?
Lots of more fun music. I don't want to give too much away because they're just going to have to find out, I'm afraid. But there's definitely more coming, and it's been stuff that I've been working for years. So with obviously a fresh uptake and fresh tweaks now looking at it, just really exciting. So I'm really proud of everything that's going to be coming out. So I hope everybody will like it.
Excellent. And now projecting yourself 5 years from now, what do you think Danie in 5 years' time would advise current Danie?
It's such a tough question, but I think she would say keep doing this. Keep doing this, which is like I've noticed, obviously I had that blip where I felt like I was losing the creativeness that I always had. I felt like I was losing a big part of who I am when I saw myself in the mirror, to be honest. And so now that I'm doing this, I think Danie at any age is always going to say, make sure you always feel like yourself.
Yeah. Super strong. And now a final question. What is your current favorite quotation and why?
Okay. Are you a fan of Doctor Who? Please say yes. And if the answer is no...
I'm gonna give like a 70% yes. I like it. I can't say I know it very well.
Great, because I'm going to hit you with a great quote from it. Gosh, now I need to think of it. Wait. Some people do more in 20 years than others do in 80. It's not the time that matters, it's the person. It's one of my favourite quotes in general. It's my favourite quote at the minute as well because I'm rewatching Doctor Who. But I think it just sums up everything that I'm going through at the minute. I think it's a great way of directing your life at any point, is thinking that actually you're in charge of your time, how you want to spend it and what you want it to account for. So
cool. I really like that. Danie, thank you for your time. Thank you for going through all these different twists and turns. Barrister, actress, singer.
I felt like I was going on a roller coaster journey myself.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. Excellent. Boom.
Thank you.
How you feeling?
I hope you got some good stuff out of it.